My name is Duddits, I do builds and stuff. I've been AFK the last couple of days, I've had some PC problems, but I'm back with a future meta build for you for next season when Heresy comes out. I'm talking about Ryster and Ballados Wrath Reavers. These both give you stacks of Frost Armor. In the latest tweet, Bungie have announced Frost Armor is getting buffed to a massive 50% damage reduction. That is absolutely crazy. So what I wanted to do with this video was show you some real good ways to get a 50% damage reduction for Heresy with a couple of combos, Ballados and Ryster perks. So stay with me, I'll break it all down. In the very latest tweet, Bungie announced Frost Armor is getting a damage reduction buff 50%. It's 4.5% per stack at the moment. It's going up to 6.25. So a times 8 Frost Armor will now be 50% versus 36%, which is absolutely massive. Now, when Frost Armor first come out, I had some complaints about it. I found it a bit hard to build into, but we've got various different things now since it come out. Ryster, destroying a stasis crystal or defeating a frozen target with this weapon grants you an improved amount of Frost Armor. The enhanced version gives you ×2. Every time you kill a frozen target or shatter a stasis crystal, you'll see there ×2. That's the enhanced version, and you can just keep doing that with various different builds to keep your stacks going. This one's got headstone on there to stay frosty. That also procs your Frost Armor as well, so any stasis crystal or any frozen target. There's various different weapons that roll with Ryster. Things like Fair Judgment to stay frosty, watch we've mentioned, the new hand cannon that can also roll Ryster, the new rocket launcher cannon, and the Sophia. But there's quite a few weapons that roll Ryster, and this is just all a really good way to keep your Frost Armor going, amongst other things on the stasis subclass, which we'll get into. I quite like this Sophia sword. This is a really good sword with Surrounded. But when you go to certain exotics like Ballados Wrath Reavers, targets frozen by a Winter's Wrath super take increased shatter damage. Allies in range of your Winter's Wrath Shockwave and Frost Pulse gain Frost Armor and deal increased damage to stasis with stasis weapons. Granting these buffs to allies grants you super energy. So if you run it with Frost Pulse, every time you put your Rift down, you're going to get an instant stack of ×8, i.e. 50% damage reduction. It also gives you a ×2 stasis weapon surge. If you run Whisper of Rhyme, that's what you need to get the ×8. If you don't, you only get the ×5. And the other thing that Ballados do is every time you come out with your super, it also gives you an instant ×8 Frost Armor stack, and it actually gives you a ×4 weapon surge as well. That's when you come out with your super. When you put your Rift down, you get a ×8 Frost Armor, ×2 weapon surge. When you come out with your super, you get a ×8 Frost Armor and a ×4 stasis weapon surge. Absolutely huge. So just for example, just something like this, you could run into a group of enemies, put your Frost Pulse down, that's going to freeze enemy, give you an instant ×8 stack and a ×2 weapon surge, and then you've got your Ryster perk just to keep you going, just to keep buffing that timer out, getting extra stacks up. I found the Frost Pulse an extremely underrated aspect on the Stasis Warlock. I find Ballados extremely underrated as well. I'm going to try and sell them to you in a few clips later on. But just for example, like the negation of damage as well when you freeze. Don't forget, when you freeze enemies, you don't actually take damage as well, unless you're taking damage from a different sort of area from across the map or something like that. Really good. Now, Glacial Harvest is an exceptional aspect because every time you freeze targets, it's going to create stasis shards. This also is a way to buff your Frost Armor out. Frost Pulse, like we've mentioned, very underrated. Casting your Rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. Now, don't forget, it isn't just your Rift, it is a big area of effect. It doesn't have to be your Rift. So just between all of these, it is literally a really solid, easy way to keep your Frost Armor going all of the time. Obviously on the Titan, you got things like Icefall Mantle, but the reason why I like Ballados so good is because the super is absolutely crazy once you've got these on. Now, the buffs to roaming supers, don't forget, recently, Winter's Wrath with Ballados, I don't know, like, it gets shit on a little bit by some content creators, but I find it extremely strong. Whisper of Refraction is something to definitely consider. Defeating slowed or frozen combatants grants you class ability energy. You're going to be slowing and freezing things all the time with a stasis build, so get your refraction going. That gives you more rifts for your Ballados. It's a really good option. Like I said, I did leave a full video. I did do a full video on this, sorry, not so long back, with some various different weapons. It's a bit more of an in-depth build, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave that in. But that pretty much wraps up the video. Massive 50% buff to Frost Armor. I think it's going to be absolutely huge. Ballandos, Rhyme Stealer is just free damage reduction. I hope you found this somewhat helpful. Let me know what you think. Have a great day.